Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Devil's Digest postgame show. An overtime thriller in Tempe this evening as Arizona State dropped this game against Washington 84-82. My name is Justin Lacertosa. Alongside myself is publisher Hode Rubino. And Hode, this was a roller coaster of emotions for everyone in this arena. Now put yourself in Bobby Hurley's shoes. 45-24 going into the halftime break, a big deficit for ASU to climb themselves out of. And one thing led to another. Frankie Collins broke the single-season steal record at Arizona State, but it wasn't good enough to get the victory, although it was pushed to overtime. Hode, in what was a back-and-forth game towards the final stretch, what do you make out of this loss for ASU?
I really think, Justin, that this game is a microcosm of Arizona State's season. Lots of highs, lots of lows. The highs are really high. The lows are just absolutely lower than a crater. Bobby Hurley said after the game that he never felt more furious and proud at the same time. Furious, to your point when you mentioned that ASU finds itself after a 45-point loss in Tucson, a game that they're coming back home. They're playing a team in Washington that is a very winnable contest for a Sun Devil squad that's trying to bounce back, and they absolutely do not show up here at home, trailing by 21 points. In the first half, they trailed by as many as 25 points early in the second half. So that was the frustration part of Bobby Hurley. He was so frustrated that 1.5 minutes into the second half, he does what I guess some would call a hockey lineup change. He took out all 5 starters and put in a second-team unit out there, including, by the way, his son, Bobby Hurley Jr., just to really shake everything up. And I think it definitely worked early on in the second half and basically springboard the team to outscore Washington by 21 points, which obviously that is the reason that why the game went into overtime. So Bobby Hurley said he was very proud of how the team responded in the second half. But, ultimately, this really just was an ASU team that showed the great facets about it and really showed the very disappointing, if not the copy and paste negative facets of this team. So here Arizona State stands one game under 500, again, desperately trying to put that loss against U of A in the rearview mirror. Whether this game reflected a hangover from that 45-point loss or not, I don't think it's one of those questions you can ever get a straight answer about. But it's just really too bad that ASU dug themselves such a huge hole in the first half that maybe they just simply ran out of gas and also ran out of bodies with Frankie Collins and Alonzo Gaffney falling out, in overtime. And here they are with a very, very disappointing loss.
So there's been sort of a trend brewing for the better part of this entire season. Arizona State, they'll go on their runs. They're a team that likes to get up in the floor, which gives them momentum simultaneously. But they're a team that also gives up those same exact runs, and that's something that Bobby Hurley has alluded to. He's claimed before that he would love to be that second-half team, and tonight Arizona State was that second-half team, but they gave up too big of a run in the first half to kind of mount that comeback. So, Hode, seeing it game after game after game almost, what do you make of that trend of ASU giving up big runs and then going on runs themselves?
Yeah, again, I don't want to belabor the point about how much that loss to U of A really was still with them very much in the first half, but I think there definitely was some aspect about that. The team that played tonight in Washington is a team that is not one of the higher caliber teams in the Pac-12 by any means, but it's also a team that averages over 80 points. So it can definitely fill a stat sheet and light up a scoreboard, to some extent. But ASU really had a lot of issues with Washington's zone defense. Now, granted, this is a Mike Hopkins team that does not exclusively play zone like some teams in very recent memory, but nonetheless, ASU that even has a lot of issues with the half-court offense when they face man-to-man defense. Now, when they're facing the zone, really just were not able to generate any consistent offense whatsoever. They were lucky early on in the first half where they were able to get a lot of fast break points. I think 8 of their first 12 points were actually scored on the fast break. So now you're going back to that formula where if ASU's defense is not being opportunistic, they really can't generate any offense just by a half-court set. So that's something that definitely hurt ASU a lot. In the second half, the light bulb went on and they were able to attack the zone, much better, and that's why they were able to erase that 21-point deficit. But we talk about running themes, Justin. I think another running theme of this ASU team is the difficulties at the charity stripe. ASU missed 9 free throws, but what made it even worse that they missed not 1 but 5 free throws in the last minute of regulation. Now, sure, the game went into overtime, so it's not like ASU didn't have a chance to win this game ultimately, but to miss so many free throws, literally down the stretch, and in the waning seconds of this game, that's just way too big of a hurdle to overcome. I mean, Jose Perez was actually one of the better free throw shooters on this team. Was only 5 of 10 from the free throw line. Frankie Collins was 2 of 5, but all 3 misses also took place in the last minute. And how tragically ironic, if you will, that when Frankie Collins does get that coveted single-season steals record, a record that was held by Sun Devil great Fat Levier for over 40 years, right after that steal, he was fouled, and he proceeded to miss the 2 free throws that he was awarded. And again, if you just want to look at any other aspect of this game that just defines ASU's season in a nutshell, that's how it is. You have the high of having your name in the school record books, but now when it comes to following up that incredible accomplishment and trying to win the game, you miss free throws and maybe a golden opportunity for ASU to win this game in regulation, because we knew that going into overtime, they had serious foul trouble with both Frankie Collins and Alonzo Gaffney, each having 4 fouls. As I mentioned earlier, both of them ultimately fouled out. And I think it was really mission impossible for ASU without their floor general in Collins to really win this game in overtime. When you watch the highlights that Justin put together, you'll see that Sean Phillips, who had one of his better games today, missed what's called in basketball jargon a bunny to possibly send this game into double overtime. So it was just one of those games where ASU just was not lucky in any facet of the game. You give him a lot of credit for erasing that 21-point deficit in the second half, but they still were not able to get over the hump in regulation. And again, when they were able to put this game into overtime, they just really ran out of bodies again without Collins really navigating traffic out there. It was just really hard for ASU to come up on top. So I think it's good that ASU was able to show a pulse. They didn't show a pulse in the first half, but they definitely showed a pulse in the second half, because I think a lot of fans were wondering what kind of team we're going to see after that 45-point loss to Arizona. I'm not trying to paint this as a moral victory, but you give credit for ASU for showing a lot of fight in the second half. It just wasn't enough, ultimately. Just another disappointing loss for the Sun Devils.
So, Hode, it's clear, and at this point it's been clear for a pretty long time, that this group won't be getting an at-large bid into the NCAA tournament. They'll have to win the Pac-12 tournament itself if they want to get a spot in March Madness. However, there's still a lot to play for within the final stretch of the season. Bobby Hurley mentioned it earlier this week. You either could be a losing team or a winning team, and Arizona State still has the opportunity to finish above 500 on the season. And also, in general, you just want to send your fans home happy, and there's 2 home games left on the season. Washington State on Saturday, U of A next week coming to Tempe. Hode, what's it going to take for this group to send all of Tempe home happy?
Bobby Hurley had extremely candid comments after the game, and one of the comments he said, in not so many words, that he doesn't know sometimes how really to get through his team, because he can show them, film after film after film, that when they play together, when that cohesiveness does really manifest itself, it really is one of the better teams in the Pac-12. And I don't think that 4-0 start was a fluke by any means. But when you just see too much of the Hero Bowl, too much of the poor decision-making on offense, That's just one of those snowballs that is just impossible to stop. I mean, sure, ASU did win some games along the way after that 4-0 start, but it really was a lot. It really were games that the few and far in between. If you just look at the volume of work after that, so Frankie Collins, I thought, had a very interesting comment that he said, even though in a very disappointing loss, this maybe can be a turning point, and maybe ASU really showed itself that when they were playing as a disjointed squad, they're going to play as poorly as they did in the first half and maybe have no business winning any game. But when they do play in a more cohesive manner, when the chemistry really is clicking, when they're responding to that wake-up call with Bobby Hurley, again, replacing the whole starting five with the second unit out there, that basically was sending a message to the starters that was well received, and again, that's why they were able to erase that 21-point deficit in the second half. So it's going to be a frustrating film session to watch tomorrow as they prepare to Washington State, a team that is definitely one of the pleasant surprises of the Pac-12. And at this point, we don't know if they did win or lose in Tucson, but either way, they're going to come to Tempe plenty motivated because they're trying to be the team that an at-large bid is going to be their fate on Selection Sunday, rather than trying to put all their eggs in the basket and trying to win the Pac-12 tournament. But again, I think there's definitely some positives to take from this game, and if ASU just really can duplicate what they did in the second half, maybe they can beat a team like Washington State, which is going to be quite a hurdle. And I'm not even talking about the last home game next week, as you mentioned, with Arizona coming to town. So it's a matter of Bobby Hurley really trying to push all the buttons, but I think ultimately there also has to be some self-leadership from the players themselves. Even on the special night of Frankie Collins, Bobby Hurley talked about all the admiration he has for his point guard, everything they accomplished this year, and really, I would say last year too. But he said at the same time, as the floor general, as the captain of the team, he cannot let himself and his teammates absolutely play dreadful basketball and do trail by 21 points at home, again, to a Washington team that is not one of the juggernauts of this conference by any means. So are those conclusions going to be implemented against Washington State? We'll see. But here Arizona State had a lot of soul searching to do after that Arizona loss. Usually they take off Sunday. They practice hard, lots of gassers, also a long film session. You thought that would really help them as they're going into the game against Washington. Didn't help at all in the first half. Maybe somewhat helped in the second half. But it's just really time for this team to look itself in the mirror and say, okay, we just have 2 more games at home, and then 2 more games after that against the LA schools to finish the regular season. What do we want to accomplish? I mean, do we want to come limping into Pac-12 tournament, or we just want to come in maybe as one of those dangerous teams, as one of those quote-unquote the team that you don't want to face in the first round of the Pac-12 tournament? We'll see. What's going to happen. A lot of bad lessons, a lot of good lessons for Arizona State to learn from tonight.
Next up on the calendar is Washington State on Saturday, as we just talked about. A group that hasn't made the NCAA tournament since 2008, looked primed to potentially do so this season. As always, my name is Justin Lacertoso. Alongside myself is publisher Hod Rubino. To stay locked in on everything Arizona State sports related, go to DevilsDigest.com. Follow Devils Digest on Twitter at DevilsDigest. We'll see you guys next time. Have a great night.